Today we finally get to share something with you guys that we have been sitting on for a while. Hi team, I'm Sid.
And I'm Mackie.
For the past 6 years, we've been racing mountain bikes professionally.
And living out of our van.
On this channel, we're sharing those adventures with you.
All of them.
So hit subscribe and join the team. A few weeks ago, Niner sent us their newest bike. And we haven't been able to tell you guys about it because it didn't launch until today. City lights are shining so bright. All these empty faces. We don't care about them tonight. We're going out of ourselves, can you feel it? Almost like I don't know if it's real, 'cause when we're doing our thing, where the wheels won't stop turning.
So we've had these bikes for a couple of weeks now. We have had a chance to get out and ride them a little bit, but we got in touch with a couple of our sponsors and they have sent us some parts to build these up so that they better match our existing bikes, which is very exciting because we want to do some comparisons between riding the e-bikes and riding the normal bikes. So that's what we're doing today, is building up these bikes with some really awesome new parts. And then after we've done that, we're gonna give you guys a full bike check on both of Niner's new e-bikes. This, my friends, is an E38.
Insane.
Massive.
I can't even get my fingers around
Yeah,
it.
38, nice. Wow, that's awesome. You should feel it. It's surprisingly light too. We have never spent time on e-bikes before. And so when I talked to our guy at Fox, I was like, do we care about e-bike fork? Like, could we just put normal forks on? And he's like, well, there are a couple things that make e-bikes forks special. The first is that they're just like a little bit beefier. They're made to hit things at higher speeds. Specifically on the 38, this part, the crown is thicker. Like you can see, this thing is massive. The whole crown is stronger and that just provides more stiffness for a heavier bike. They found through testing that people set down more when they were on e-bikes. They actually have changed the damper. They've made it a slightly lighter tune, which seems totally backward, but you're like, but it's a heavier bike, it should be a heavier tune. But the reason it's a lighter tune is when you're sitting down more, there's less weight up over the front consistently. And they said that people just liked that tune a lot better. This is the Float X2, which is their like downhill or enduro shock. And apparently this is actually a new one, and the lockout is more firm. The bike came to us with a coil shock on it. From my understanding, this feels very much like a coil shock. And it's gonna be a little bit lighter, and given that this, e-bikes are not light, I'm okay with it being a little bit lighter. So on this bike, we are putting a E36, and you can see they actually have a cool little E36 logo. And the difference with this one is the walls of the stanchions are actually thicker than a normal 36. So they use a different damper cartridge. They use a 34 damper cartridge, because the walls are thicker to make the fork stronger and stiffer. Once again, the tune on the damper is slightly different, optimized for e-bikes. Whoa! Everybody okay?
Fine, we're good.
Okay. So that's the one that we will be running on the RIP E9, which is more of kind of the trail bike, whereas the WFO E9, which is that bike, is more of like a downhill shuttleable rig, although it also pedals surprisingly well. And then going for the DPX2 shock on this one as opposed to the Float X2 like on the other one. So just, a little bit more on the trail bike side of things.
We are
are going to bring you a video on Friday. That is our first ride on the bikes set up the way they are now, and we're gonna talk a little bit more in detail about what we like, what's different from riding a normal bike, all of that out on the trail. So right now we kind of just want to talk a little bit about e-bikes in general.
People have really strong opinions about e-bikes. Everybody has strong opinions about everything on the internet. Let's be real. But especially e-bikes, that seems to be kind of a dividing thing in the mountain bike community, which I think is kind of too bad. Just like everything, there's a place for e-bikes. I understand that there are certain places where the trails are really crowded already, and people are like, we don't want more users on our trails. And I totally respect that. Like, if you have super crowded trails already, the last thing you want is more people on your trails.
More people going faster.
Yeah, more people going faster.
We understand that. I think we also look at it from a bit of a bigger lens of that, like, expanding the reach of the mountain bike community really benefits all of us. Like, that's how we get more trails, more places to ride, more access. An e-bike that allows more people to ride and enjoy mountain biking is going to be a net positive for the community overall.
The other thing that I really like about e-bikes is that it lets people who otherwise wouldn't get out on the trails, get out on the trails. And this might be due to an injury. This might be due to, you know, just having not ridden a bike for a long time. This could be due to age. There'll be a video here soon of me riding with my dad, who's 75, and we can ride together for the first time pretty much ever.
Let's all be on the same page about what e-bikes are and aren't. E-bikes are not motorcycles.
No, we ride dirt bikes.
We ride motorcycles.
They're really fun,
like,
and they're very different.
Like, this is an e-bike, this is a motorcycle. Like, there's...
Wait, you have to put bike in there too. So if this is a motorcycle over here,
yeah,
and this is an e-bike over here,
this is
bikes
a bike.
Are like right
a
here.
Bike.
Yeah. Bike, e-bike, motorcycle. Very different. There's 3 classes of e-bikes. There's class 1, 2, and 3. Class 1 is pedal assist up to 20 miles per hour. So that means that, like, you're pedaling and it will help you go faster. It provides additional power up to 20 miles an hour. And at 20 miles an hour, I will tell you, it is a hard cutoff. There's like, you're pedaling along like, I'm Superman, and then it like stops helping you and you're like, oh my gosh, this bike is so heavy. You can go faster than that, obviously, like on downhills. You know, you can go faster than 20, but it's not gonna give you any additional power. Class 2 are throttle assist. So these are e-bikes that I would say are the closest to dirt bikes or motorcycles, because you press a button and they accelerate. And then class 3, I believe, are pedal assist, but they're up to like 25 or 30 miles. They're a higher number.
Why is that class 3 and not class 2?
I didn't make the rules. That's just the way it is.
The point is, when we talk about e-bikes, when bike companies talk about e-bikes, 90% of the time they're talking about class 1 e-bikes. Like, those
and that's
are really,
what these bikes are.
Those are really the only e-bikes that anyone's considering allowing on mountain bike trails ever.
People are worried about people going really fast, and totally understand that worry. 20 miles per hour is fast if you're on tight single track with blind corners and you can't see people coming. Like, it's scary to come around a corner and have somebody coming really fast at you, and that's scary for horses and hikers and fellow mountain bikers. And I think the important thing to remember is the bike is a tool, and it's about being like a respectful trail user. Should you go 20 miles per hour all the time because that is what your bike will allow you to do? Of course not. Like, if that's not a safe speed for that trail, you shouldn't be doing it.
It goes for normal bikes as well. I think that's why I find it interesting that people make that argument just at e-bikes when there are a lot of people who are riding too fast for the trail that they're on a normal bike. And it really does come down to being respectful no matter what bike you're on. People have also made the argument of e-bikes being heavier, causing more degradation to the trail. I think this comes again from people thinking e-bikes are motorcycles. So just for a little bit of perspective, our trail bikes weigh like 34 pounds.
Something like that, yeah.
The e-bikes weigh 56. Our motorcycles weigh 250 pounds.
Plus gas.
Plus the gas. So that's, like, motorcycles do tear up trails. That's an entirely different argument that we are not having right now. But
and with a throttle, they spin the wheels more, which tears up the trails. Like on an e-bike, you can pedal really hard, but like it doesn't matter. You're still pedaling and it doesn't skid out.
Me and my e-bike weigh the same as someone who weighs 170 pounds on a normal trail bike.
In other words, Sid plus e-bike equals Mackie on normal bike.
Exactly. So, you know, I don't think the weight argument is legit.
No.
there.
We would love to hear your guys' opinions on this. Like we want to hear what you guys think of e-bikes and whether they're allowed on the trails in your area and if you've had issues or if you ride an e-bike. But keep it respectful. Be a kind internet user. You can disagree, but disagree respectfully and state your point and don't be a jerk. Because if you're a jerk, we're going to delete your comments because we can do that.
This is like your control panel. So you can see I'm in the EMTB setting right now. Can go 38 miles. That's probably conservative as well. The batteries seem to last for quite a while here. So Eco, Tour, EMTB, and Turbo, which is very fun. Fox E36, Fox DPX2 on the back, an XT shifter. We've got XT 4-piston brakes with very big rotors because stopping this thing is hard. I really love the color scheme of this bike. I just think it's super awesome. So I had to put my oil slick pedals on, of course, because there's sort of an oil slick theme going on. These are the Expedo GFX pedals. This is the Velo Senso saddle, XT 12-speed derailleur, and we don't have a Shimano crank because these are e-bike cranks, and this is really crazy to backpedal on them. That was like the first thing I noticed when we unpacked this bike. I was like, something's wrong. But that's what's supposed to happen. And then there's this motor that I'm gonna let Mackie talk about. We have a thief, we've caught a, ooh! This is what happens to thieves.
That's what happens, Jack. I like the camo. Yeah, it's different. Orange just matches it so well. It looks so cool. I'm running the Fox 38E since it's more of kind of like a downhill self-shuttle rig. I've got the Fox Float X2, which is basically a downhill shock. And then this is the new Fox Transfer Post. And it's really cool because it's a little bit shorter overall length. So this is still 150 mil drop, but the part that sticks into the bike is a little bit shorter. This bike is a mullet bike. So 29-inch front wheel, 27 5-inch rear wheel, XT 12-speed drivetrain, 4-piston XT brakes on this with big old 203 mil rotors. On our enduro bikes, we run 203 rotors on the front, but we don't generally run 203 rotors on the back. Running Expedo GFX pedals. As Sid promised, I will talk a little bit about these motors, and I admit, I am not an e-bike expert. We're just kind of learning about the technology. This is the 4th generation Bosch motor, and apparently it's lighter and smaller, and you can actually really see it's impressively small considering how much power this thing can put out. They'll apparently put out up to 250 watts or 340% of your power that you're putting out. So that means you could put out like, what would it be, 70 watts? And it would put out 250 for you. Obviously they're not light, but I actually think it's a lot less the Bosch motor and a lot more the 8-pound battery. This is a 625 watt-hour battery, which from my understanding is one of the bigger batteries they tend to put in e-bikes. I'm really glad these bikes have such big batteries in them because the range is pretty amazing. So we have not tested what the range is on these bikes. So like I went and did a 22 or 25 mile ride with quite a bit of climbing, and afterwards I think I'd only used like 2 of the 5 bars. The other thing I was really impressed by when I first jumped on this bike is how quickly the motor engages. I mean, I played around on e-bikes maybe 5, probably even more, close to 10 years ago. And the technology has changed so much. Like before then you'd start pedaling and it'd be like half a pedal stroke before you got any support. Now it's like you do the tiniest little bit of movement and the motor kicks in. It just feels like instant engagement, which really makes it a lot more fun. There's not this weird lag that they used to have.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our next video, where we'll take these bikes for their first proper ride.